Hi everyone. In this video, we talk about the philosophy of the open source development model. The open source development model has evolved into one of the most significant frameworks in software development. It represents more than just a practical way of creating software. It's a philosophy that drives motivation, collaboration, and inclusivity. At its core, open source software promotes transparency, freedom, and community engagement by making the source code freely available for anyone to use, modify, and distribute. How open source works. In the open source model, the source code of a project is openly shared with the public, often via platforms like GitHub or GitLab. This allows anyone with the necessary technical skills to examine, modify, and improve the code. Contributions come from individual developers, organizations, nonprofits, and other entities that have interest in improving the software. Development often follows a decentralized and collaborative approach with teams of volunteers or paid developers contributing to the same project. The key process includes forking. Developers can make a copy of code base, fork it to experiment or improve the project. Pull request. Once improvements are made, contributors submit changes via pull requests for the core maintainers to review and merge if approved. Issue tracking. Bugs, features, and enhancements are openly discussed and documented in issue trackers. What benefits this open source model development model has? The open source model offers a variety of advantages. The first is transparency. Since the code is open, it is scrutinized by multiple contributors that results in ensuring high levels of accountability and security. 2. Collaboration. Large communities with diverse skills contribute to project, and this results in faster innovation and solving complex problems. 3 is cost efficiency. Developing software has cost, even an open source project, but developing software using open source model has much less cost than a proprietary software. Also, open source software and tools are mostly free of charge, and this reduces software costs for businesses, individuals, and governments. The fourth benefit is flexibility. Open source software can be customized to meet specific needs, whether for personal use or enterprise applications. 5 is security. The fifth benefit is security. With more eyes on the code, security vulnerabilities are often found and patched quickly. The benefit 6 is skill development. Participation in open source projects offers programmers, developers valuable experience and opportunities to learn from a global community. How the economy of open source works. Developing software, as we said earlier, has cost, even an open source project. But despite its association with free software, the open source economy is thriving. Companies and individuals make money for their project through these methods. For example, using support and maintenance. Many open source projects offer paid support services, ensuring that businesses have access to help when needed. The other method is customization. Some companies or developers offer customization services to tailor open source software for the specific needs of their clients. The other method is software as a service. While the software itself might be free, companies build cloud-based solutions or manage services around open source projects. For example, Odoo ERP system has an open source and a free community edition, but the company behind it sells cloud-based ERP systems to its customers. Dual licensing. Some projects are released under both an open source and a commercial license, where companies pay for additional features or warranties. And lastly, one of the most important method of obtaining funds is support by interested parties, for software firms, government agencies, or individuals support open source projects of their interest. The role of community in this development model. The backbone of the open source model is its community. Community members, whether volunteers, paid contributors, or users, participate in every aspect of a project's lifecycle. They write code, report bugs, create documentation, and provide support. Communities are often highly diverse, drawing from global talent pools and benefiting from a wide range of experiences and perspectives. The meritocracy of the open source world ensures that anyone, regardless of their location or background, can contribute meaningfully if they possess the required skills and commitment. Beyond code contributions, communities help ensure the project's success through advocacy and collaboration, sharing knowledge, organizing conferences, and improving mentorship for new developers. The role of governments. Governments across the world have increasingly embraced open source software. For them, the model provides several key advantages. The first one is cost saving. Since open source software can be obtained without the typical licensing fees, governments save millions in software costs. The other aspect is security and independence. Governments can inspect the code for security vulnerabilities, thus reducing reliance on foreign proprietary software vendors. The other aspect is national security. By having access to the source code, governments can ensure that there are no hidden backdoors or spywares. And finally, one of the benefits that governments use is encouraging local innovation. Governments also contribute to open source software development. for creating solutions that can be used both locally and globally. And this can result in economic growth. Countries like France, Brazil, and Germany have adopted national policies promoting the use of open source in public institutions. The role of software firms. Many large software firms and companies contribute significantly to open source projects, even though it might seem counterintuitive at first glance. But the logic for this is clear. The first reason is platform development. Companies like Google, even Microsoft, and IBM use open source projects as platforms for their services and innovations. Kubernetes, TensorFlow, and Linux are examples of open source software projects that is supported by large corporations. Standards and ecosystem building. Open source allows firms to create ecosystems that drive wider adoption of their technologies. For example, the Android ecosystem is built based on a Linux kernel and fastly adopted by mobile technologies. The other aspect is talent acquisition. By contributing to open source projects, companies attract top talent who want to work on their cutting edge technology. And finally, customer trust. Firms that contribute to open source demonstrate transparency and commitment to the community. And this helps them gaining trust from tech-savvy customers. The role of universities. Universities play a pivotal role in the open source movement. Many of the early open source projects originated in academic environment where collaboration and free access to knowledge are core principles. In the modern context, universities contribute by various ways. For example, open source research. Many academic institutions release their research and software as open source, fostering innovation and making cutting-edge technologies available to the public. Education. By integrating open source software into their curricula, universities help train the next generation of developers on how to contribute to and benefit from open source software projects. Collaboration. Universities often collaborate with governments and private industries to work on large-scale open source projects. And finally, the role of non-profit software organizations. Non-profit organizations have been instrumental in the success of many open source projects. Entities like the Free Software Foundation and the Open Source Initiative advocate for software freedom that ensure that open source licenses and principles are maintained. These organizations often provide legal frameworks. They define and manage licensing standards to protect the openness of projects. For example, GPL and MIT licenses. Funding. Through donation and grants, nonprofits help fund critical open source infrastructure and developers working on key projects. Advocacy and awareness. Nonprofits work to spread awareness of the benefits of open source and promote its adoption in sectors ranging from education to enterprise. Some other aspects of open source development model can be that we can consider is open source in developing countries. For many developing nations, open source software presents an opportunity to bridge the technology gap without incurring expensive licensing fees. By using open source tools, countries can build local expertise and technological independence. The other aspect is licensing. Open source software is governed by various licenses, each satisfying how the software can be used, modified, and redistributed. The most famous of these is the GPL, General Public License, but there are also permissive licenses like the MIT license, which imposes fewer restrictions on usage. And the other aspect is ethical consideration. The philosophy of open source is often aligned with ethical ideas. Ethical ideals of freedom, inclusivity, and democratization of technology. It contrasts with proprietary software models that restrict access and usage through licensing and control mechanism. In conclusion, open source development model continues to transform the way software is built, distributed, and maintained. It thrives on a decentralized structure driven by collaboration, innovation, and shared value, with contributions from diverse stakeholders, individuals, companies, universities, and governments. The open source ecosystem remains one of the most dynamic and rapidly evolving areas of the tech world. As it grows, it promises to push the boundaries of what's possible in technology while democratizing access to software and knowledge for all users.